Hello friends, welcome back to Cloud Pedagogy. In today's session, we are going to start with AWS monitoring. When you have a solution built out of many different pieces, like how we build solutions on AWS, it's important to be able to see how different services are operating over time and to react to operational events as they are happening. Let's consider our student directory application. It's Monday morning and the users are seeing a latency on the page loads. It's probably not good enough to wait until the user sees a slowdown, calls, or even a ticket saying, "Hello, your application is running slow." If you receive a call or a ticket from your users, you can then react and troubleshoot the issues. However, waiting for users to notice and report issues to investigate will generally lead to unhappy end users. Ideally, you would be able to respond to operational issues before your end users notice. On top of that, the end user can only provide information about their experience and they cannot give you insights into the inner working of your solutions. So, they can report the issue to you. But where is that issue stemming from? Is it an EC2 problem? Or is it a database problem? Or is there a code change that was recently made that's causing some issues? When operating a website like the Student Directory application on AWS, you also may have questions like how many people are visiting my site day to day, or how can I track the number of visitors over time? How will I know if the website is having performance or availability issues? What happens if my EC2 instance runs out of capacity? Will I be alerted if my website goes down? Without monitoring, you have to do some digging to figure that out. So, what do we need to do? The first step is to put proper monitoring in place. You need a way to collect and analyze data about the operational health and uses of your resources. The act of collecting, analyzing, and using data to make decisions or answer questions about your IT resources and systems is called monitoring. Monitoring enables you to have a near real-time pulse on your system and answer the questions that we have just mentioned. You can use the data you collect to watch for operational issues caused by events like overutilization of resources, application flaws, resource misconfiguration, or security-related events. Basically, monitoring is a verb. It's something that we do. We collect metrics, we collect logs, and we watch network traffic. The data needed to help you pinpoint the problems comes from different services and infrastructure hosting your application. The monitoring tools help you collect the data being generated by these systems. In a cloud environment that is ever changing and ever scaling, it's even more important to collect various types of information about the system as they scale up or scale down and as they change over time as well. The different services that make up your solution generate the data points that we call metrics. Think of the data collected through monitoring as output of the systems or metrics. So, what are the metrics? How we can use the metrics to solve the problems? The resources that host your solutions on AWS all create various forms of data that you might be interested in collecting. You can think of each individual data point that is created by a resource as a metric. Metrics that are collected and analyzed over time become statistics. Like the example of average CPU utilization over time, showing a spike at some point of the time. Let's understand this scenario. One way to evaluate the health of an Amazon EC2 instance is through CPU utilization. If an EC2 instance has a high CPU utilization, it can mean a flood of requests. Or it can reflect a process that has encountered an error and is consuming too much of CPU. When analyzing CPU utilization, take a process that exceeds a specific threshold for an unusual length of time. Use that abnormal event as a cue to either manually or automatically resolve the issue through actions like scaling the instance. This is one of the examples in metrics. Other examples of metrics EC2 instances have are network utilization, disk performance, memory utilization, and the logs created by the applications running on top of EC2. Let's see what are the different types of metrics. Different resources in AWS create different types of metrics. An Amazon Simple Storage Service S3 bucket would not have CPU utilization like an EC2 instance does. Instead, S3 create metrics related to the different objects stored in a bucket like the overall size or the number of objects in a bucket. S3 also has metrics related to the requests made to the bucket such as reading or writing objects. In case of Amazon Relational Database Service, creates metrics such as database connections, CPU utilization of an instance, or disk space consumption. This is not a complete list for any of the services mentioned, but you can see how different resources create different metrics. You could be interested in a whole variety of metrics depending on the types of the resources you are using, the goal you have, or the type of questions you wanted to answer for. Next, we'll understand the benefits of monitoring. Of course, monitoring gives you the visibility into your resources. But the question is, why is that important? Of course, there are many benefits using AWS monitoring. Respond to operational issues proactively before your end users are aware of them. It's a bad practice to wait for end users to let you know your application is experiencing an outage. Through monitoring, you can keep tabs on metrics like error response rate or request latency. Over time, that helps signal that an outage is going to occur. This enables you to automatically or manually perform actions to prevent the outage from happening, like fixing the problem before your end users are aware of it. Improve the performance and reliability of your resources. Monitoring the different resources that comprise your application provides you with a full picture of how your solution behaves as a system. Monitoring, if done well, can eliminate bottlenecks and inefficient architectures. This enables you to drive performance and reliability improvement processes as well. Recognize the security threats and events. When you monitor resources, events, and systems over time, you can create what is called a baseline. A baseline defines what activity is normal. Using a baseline, you can spot anomalies like unusual traffic spikes or unusual IP addresses accessing your resources. When an anomaly occurs, an alert can be sent out or an action can be taken to investigate that event. Make data-driven decisions for your business. Monitoring is not only to keep an eye on IT operational health, it also helps drive business decisions. For example, let's say you launch a new feature for your student directory application and want to know whether it's being used. You can collect application level metrics and view the number of users who use that new feature. With your findings, you can decide whether to invest more time into improving the new feature or not. Create more cost-effective solutions. Through monitoring, you can view resources that are being underutilized and right-size your resources to your usage. This helps you optimize cost and make sure you are not spending more money than necessary. But how do you enable that visibility? AWS resources create data you can monitor through metrics, logs, network traffic, events, and many more. This data is coming from components that are distributed in nature, which can lead to difficulty in collecting the data you need if you don't have a centralized place to review it all. AWS has already done that for you with a service called Amazon CloudWatch. Amazon CloudWatch is a monitoring and observability service that collects data like those mentioned in this. CloudWatch provides actionable insights into your applications and enables you to respond to system-wide performance changes, optimize resource utilization, and get a unified view of operational health. This unified view is very important. You can use CloudWatch to detect anomalous behavior in your environments, like setting an alarm to alert you when something not right. You can visualize the logs and metrics with the AWS Management Console. You can take automated actions like scaling, so that you can troubleshoot issues before they come into picture. You can also discover insights to keep your applications healthy. So that's all for today's session. Looking forward to seeing you again in my next video. Until then, take care.